is related to him? There's.
My last name is pronounced Katie.
Oh, Katie.
Yeah.
How's it spelled?
C-A-D-Y.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there's no L.
No L.
Do we know if we have an extra battery?
Oh, it's his, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, this is C-L.
Oh, okay. Oh, got
I
it.
just glanced at it last.
Another battery? Oh, perfect.
We are streaming and your audio is on, so whenever you're ready.
Is it already started right now?
Streaming it, yeah.
6:02.
Oh, gosh, okay.
Sir, do you have an extra pen? All I have is crayon. I just want to know.
I could write with this.
No, I have to switch to a paper first. Thank you.
I got it. Oops.
Did you get one?
I forget my mouse.
Zach, as soon as I'm done with the payroll we'll start you going, so you don't have to wait through our.
Go keep you here around 8:30. No, it's all right.
Okay. It's July 12th, 2020, and I want to start the Proctor Public Utilities meeting. Call to order.
Carol Lind,
Here.
Phil Larson,
Here.
Jennifer Katie. Here.
Okay, I need approval for the regular meeting of the Proctor Public Utilities of June 14th and the special meeting with SEH on June 23rd, 2021.
The agenda? Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then-
Now the meetings.
I'll move the minutes for our regular meeting of June 14th, 2021,
I'll second
and our special meeting of June 23rd, 2021.
and second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And the payrolls ending June 20th and July 4th, 2021.
I'll move to approve payroll.
I'll support.
Is everybody's mic on?
Is everybody's mic on?
Mine's on.
Now it is.
Okay. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Water maintenance, so now we're going to go into our financial statements and have Whipley go through our 2020 financial statement. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. My name is Zach. As she said, I'm from Whipley, filling in for Michelle Swoboda today, who is a partner on this engagement. So obviously this is a bigger document. I'm not going to try to take too much of your time. I'm just going to try to point out a few of the numbers that you guys probably care about most. In the smaller packet is the communication letter. There's not really a ton that I'm going to go through on here, but if you read through it, it just kind of says what everybody's responsibility kind of in this engagement is, what we're responsible for, what commission is
I
responsible.
don't know that we got that.
Is that in this whole
Is it
book?
the smaller one? Or maybe Michelle didn't give you the smaller one?
Is it the cover sheet on this?
Oh, I think it's that.
Is it the cover sheet?
It's not, I think it's
What does it say at
number
the
2.
very top? Does it say anything?
Independent Auditor's Report?
Okay, that's.
Is that the one we're looking
That's on
for?
the bigger one, but there was just one point I was going to make on this.
Okay, please do.
So it's nothing that you guys need to worry too much about. I was just going to say the communication letter, which is signed. The only thing that shows up as far as that we have to say kind of about the auditor's report is that we are the ones responsible, that we prepare the financials. So there's the language in it is, it's called a significant deficiency, but it's nothing that is concerning as far as your guys' point. It's something that we do basically for everyone, unless you guys were to create this rather than us do, rather than us do the financial statements. It's just kind of a disclosure basically in everybody's reports, so.
And that's something that's reported every year. It's not something
Yes,
new.
something, yeah, it's not something new, it's something that's reported everywhere, every year and everywhere, pretty much, with a few of our clients, so. That was just the first thing I want to mention. Now we can get into, yes, the actual financial statements. The independent auditor's report, the first couple pages here, just a couple points. Again, it's kind of something that you can read through if you want. In more detail, the biggest points I would say are kind of in that third paragraph where it says auditor's responsibility. Our responsibility as auditors, WIFLE, is just to express opinion on the financial statements that are being presented. That opinion is in the following paragraph, or at the top of the next page. It's basically said, we're basically saying that we are presenting, or that the financial statements are presented fairly, which is, in other words, a clean opinion. That there's nothing in this following report or financial statements that we deemed materially different or incorrect, basically. So everything looks good. Some of the, if we go to page 4, the management discussion and analysis, this is a new portion. If you were to look at last year's financial statements, this is a new section, basically. It just is essentially kind of financial highlights. It's kind of the Cliff Notes version of the following 35 pages or so. If you were to look at kind of those 2 bullet point items, those essentially are the kind of ending main numbers, I guess you could say. That first bullet point is saying that total net position increased by $214,121. That's basically your 2020 net income for this year. And then the second bullet point is your unrestricted net position, basically saying that your, the commission's position of assets that aren't capital assets. So a lot of your investments and cash and stuff, that's kind of the PUC's position in total, which you'll see those 2 numbers kind of throughout the following pages quite a bit. The next couple pages, I'm going to skip over pages 5 and kind of 5, 6, and 7. A lot of the reports in here, this is kind of, as we go through, we're going to, kind of, that first page that I just talked about was kind of, what, the 2 numbers, and then we kind of go in deeper as we go through. So these next 2 are kind of the next level basis of comparing 2020 to 2019, just kind of assets, liabilities, net position at the highest level. Like I said, I'm going to skip over those. I'm going to go right to pages 8 and 9 are kind of the ones that I'm just going to talk about here for a few minutes in a little more detail. It's just, again, comparisons on page 8. Statement of net position, kind of comparing your assets, liabilities, net position year over year, 2020 to 2019. There wasn't a lot of big changes this year. If you look through kind of side by side the numbers, I guess some of the bigger differences is your cash did increase, your end of the year cash did increase by about $300,000 or so there. That's mostly just a result of kind of the net income. So otherwise, a lot of those other line items are pretty similar to the prior year. If we go down, if we go over to page 9, this is the page we'll probably talk about the most here. Probably the numbers that you'd be most concerned with. You can kind of see a breakdown of operating or revenues and expenses, basically. Kind of operating, non-operating revenue, any changes from this year to last year. This year, in total, sales was down a little bit. Cost of sales was also down, so therefore, but then kind of the offsetting result of that was a increased net profit of $100,000 or so. I put some notes down that looks, the reason for that is I think rates did go up. You did increase your rates from last year by 5 and 6%, I believe. But I think just usage was down overall by 8 or 9%. So that's the reason why the total sales number is down. As far as cost of sales, why that was down, again, it looked like I'd marked down that he had purchased a little bit more water this year, but far less electric from Minnesota Power, I believe. So that was down, purchased like $150,000. So that's kind of the reason for that difference. But overall, if we kind of scoot down to the operating income line, about halfway down, overall operating income was up about $40,000, $168 in total. If you look at the non-operating revenues, the biggest one there, other than a couple of those smaller items, is the investment income. That's just interest, I believe, on CDs. So that was about half of what it was in 2019. So if we get to the very bottom, change of net position, that's that number, that bullet point number from a couple pages ago at $214,000. That's, again, basically net income for the year. And then it shows kind of your position from this year to last year. Those are going to be the main things we'll cover. There's a few other points as I go through. I suppose I should stop them and kind of rambling fast. Is there any questions that you guys have on the first few pages there? Because those are the ones that I want to just go over in more detail. If not, I'll move on.
Go ahead, Kara.
No, I was just, because of COVID, some people weren't going out, maybe things were closed. I mean, I could see selling less electricity.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking about water breaks for the water. I don't know. So it just kind of typical thing, COVID.
I think it's a remarkable year, all things considered. Shar, I think this shows like you and Heather just did an amazing job weathering that. Even, you look at $47,000 that we didn't collect in late fees. But when I think back to like early 2020, when we stopped disconnections and we stopped charging late fees, but we still weathered it from a financial perspective, okay? I mean, I feel like this report is really remarkable about how the utility kind of weathered the pandemic in a really responsible way. So nice job, Shar.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Any other comments? We're good, Zach.
Okay. Just wanted to double check. I kind of talked for a few minutes there. Just a couple quick notes. Page 10, statement of cash flows. Again, you can go line by line if you'd like. One point that we always point out is the purchase of capital assets, about a third of the way down, but there was about $115,000 this year of capital assets purchased. That was mostly due to, I believe, about $80K in pump house, booster station repairs, improvements. The rest was some miscellaneous equipment improvements, but the number was a little bit down this year, but we always just like to point that number out. If we start or look at page 11, I'm not going to go through any of about 11 through 14. It's, I kind of say, is the dictionary of the financial statements. It's just kind of definitions and more detail about maybe some of the terminology that's in the financial statements. Skip to note 2, which is on page kind of 14 and 15. A lot of these kind of schedules and tables on 15 and 16 just kind of show the investments, the types of investments, and there's some detail about what those are and just some of the required disclosures that we have to make. But that's just all of your 4M investments in there, which make up the majority of your assets. The other big portion of your assets is obviously what I just a little bit talked about, is capital assets on note 3, page 17. It just kind of gives a breakdown there of the different assets, the different types of assets that you have. As far as capital assets, I just mentioned. As far as additions,
Where, the places where it says distribution system, is that combining water and electric
I believe so.
assets?
I believe that's just the, yeah, water line. A lot of times it's like water line.
Because most of the
That's what-
electric's owned
Where
by
are you on?
Minnesota Power, right?
On what side? What are you-
It just, like on page 17, any place that it talks about capital assets and distribution system, it's not specifying water and electric, but I'm assuming that's all water, mostly. I mean, there might be some smaller electric stuff, but doesn't MP own most of that system?
No.
No, we own our own distribution.
We own all of the distribution.
Mhm.
So this is water and electric probably together.
Yeah, I would imagine so, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we do have full listings if there's any sort of curiosity of what makes up those numbers. We always, I mean, during the audit is, we always go back and forth about additions each year, but we have the full listings of what makes up those total numbers too. We can always distribute that if needed. Page, let's see. Note 4 is just some interfund on pages 18, 19, a little bit on page 20, just kind of the due to, due from within the city and PUC kind of between. There's some detail there on page 19 about the origin of those. Those are some of the bigger numbers on the financial statements, but I won't go into too much depth about those. Note 5, I'm not really going to discuss at all. This is a bunch of the required disclosures for the Pera benefit plan type stuff. And the state. If we want to go all the way towards the end to page 30. This will just be my final couple points, not even really points, it's just more of the pages that we went in more detail, maybe I think that was 7, 8, or 9, somewhere in there, kind of from an overall level. This is even just a kind of it's the same numbers, just broken down a different way. This is broken down water versus electric, kind of as far as the sales, revenues and cost of sales and operating expenses and the different types of expenses. This is probably the most detailed, broken down level by level. Water versus electric. 30 and 31 are this year's 2020, and then pages 32 and 33 are last year's. It's not as nice of a side-by-side comparison as far as year over year, but it's a nice little breakdown of water versus electric as far as revenues and expenses go. But we already covered as far as the totals on those, so that is it. So, any further? And then also though, I mean, once you have time to, obviously we just went over this whole thing in about 10 minutes, so if there's anything that sticks out on a deeper dive look, feel free to reach out to myself or just let Char know, and she'll reach out, and Michelle or I will answer the questions, any further questions as best we can.
Okay. Jeff, did the city council see this?
Not into it.
Okay.
I thought there was something in their finance that would, like a portion or some sort of section
Usually there is, but
in the city financials that has PUC information in
Yes.
there.
It's
There should be a column.
it's not as detailed.
It's not detailed like
This
this.
is the details of the details, but kind of how maybe like water and sewer, water and electric were here on these last couple pages. I think there should be like a PUC column in the city financials as far as kind of overall same types of numbers, but it is in the cities as well.
Did you have any questions, Sharon? I don't think it looks that bad considering.
I think it
all
looks
the COVID.
great considering we weathered a pandemic.
Yeah.
Business shutdowns and all kinds of,
And all the non-payments.
yes, yeah.
Everything that went on. So I think we need approval, right?
Mhm.
I'll make a motion to approve our,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye. Really nice work. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Zach.
So you're done.
Sneak out.
Anything new on delinquent accounts, Char?
No, and I didn't even think to grab that. I guess I missed that. We're working on billing and stuff. I've been in some training on a new system, so having to learn it and then do it and run. It's been interesting.
How's
You
it
think you'll
going?
like it?
Is it,
I will like it once I get settled in and stuff, but it still is going back and forth between the new system and the old system and just trying to, it's a different process. So once I learn it, I'll like it. There's some great features with the new system, but it's just a learning curve.
Mhm.
And I think more so for me because I'm so set in, I know how Banyan functions and I know what we need to pull out of there. So I'm going into like the dark. I'm just like, what do I need? I keep trying to pull things out and so, yeah, so it's just been time consuming but it's going. So yeah, so I didn't even have time to even connect with Tammy too much today. I was supposed to be in training this afternoon on another part of the system on accounts receivable, so, but got out of that. I was still discussing some things with Pat, so, yeah, so I didn't get a chance to touch base with her to get a report final or an aging. But we're working on getting, we talked about that before we transfer over to the new system. They're gonna pull our final data this week, and we wanna get all of those old final accounts moved over, so.
I think it's a good idea.
Or old
'Cause
delinquent accounts final,
It's
yeah.
not really a true statement
No.
when they're hanging out there for 20
Right,
years.
right.
So, yeah, I think that's good, sure. Okay, is there anything on 1A for water?
No.
Maintenance contractor?
We've got them, we're having issues with our meter reading system again, and I don't know what it is. So we have them coming up. I've got Corin Mean, our contacts there. They're gonna come up and go through the whole thing. I said, I need somebody here because we're switching over to a new program, and if we can't get this to work, I can't even train in my gal because it's always something. Every single month since November, or since December, since I've taken this over, I've had like one little issue here, one issue there, or this wasn't pulling or that. So I'm like, you guys need to come here and run through this with us. So he's gonna spend all day on Wednesday.
are you getting some bad meter reads or something?
No, it's like it's not pulling and it's not transferring and then it's not pulling all of them and the files aren't coming. It's just something glitchy every single time. It's like it should just work. It should
Yeah.
just work. So, yeah.
So then she has a report that pulls up that shows that it's not.
Yeah, that we're missing so many meters that aren't getting read.
Yeah.
And we thought they had it fixed like a month ago or a month before, and it just proved to have more issues, so.
In that scenario, then do you like estimate for that month and then try
There
to-
were some this month. This is usually, typically we don't have to, this was the worst month yet. And so we're finally just like, you guys need to come here. It has never been this bad, this many issues that we've had, so.
You hate
And
to-
it's
you
electric
hate
or
to-
water?
This is our meter reading system for water and electric.
Okay.
So, what happened was, we finally got things working, but then we had to do an upgrade. They're like, you need to upgrade the system, the auto read system. So we did that on the computer, and I said, is this gonna affect the laptop at all when Pat goes out and reads? No, you don't need to worry about that. It's all gonna transfer over, everything's gonna work fine. No, it didn't. So then they had to do something on the laptop, and yeah. I'm just like, you told me that once we upgraded this, we didn't have to do anything there, that it wasn't gonna matter, but it did.
Well, it's good you're doing it
So,
now,
right.
because summer's a terrible time to be estimating.
Right.
Everybody's using more water, especially with this
Yeah.
drought.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then if it's extremely dry, a lot of people are watering,
Yeah.
trying to
Crazy.
save some grass.
And
Yeah.
when you're in the high pressure zone, like where I'm at, you use so
A
much
lot
more
of
than you
water.
think you do anyway, you know? So it's I think people are surprised at their bills sometimes in the summer.
Right. We don't want it to get out of hand.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Shar.
Yeah.
Okay, we did Whipley. These freezing service lines are finally coming to.
Yeah, if we're gonna be able to do it this year, we just gotta be able to, get the go-ahead for SEH. If we're thinking we wanna go ahead, it would follow under, we got the purchasing policy. I
We
think they
have to
kinda
get bids
revamped that
and
up.
stuff.
Revamped that last year, so, you know, the protocol that we have to follow on that.
Yeah.
I gave you some, when I gave you the attachments, extra attachments, I gave you updated figures because I asked Tyler to get me those, because what I originally gave you was the ones from last year. So these costs, this is like worst-case scenario costs, because we're hoping that we're not gonna have to abandon the water service and lay new copper and put in a brand-new water stop, curb stop. We're hoping that what we have is gonna work and we can just lower the services. So, like I said, this is worst-case scenario for these. So we're gonna be meeting, Pat and Tyler are gonna meet this week and physically go to the site and look at it a little more. So that when he writes up, if we're gonna go ahead and move forward on it, when he writes up the specs for the quotes, that it's kind of details that it may not be a full-out replacement. It could be lowering if we can do that or whatever is needed. So,
We need a motion to approve going.
yeah, if we can go ahead and if we want to get these fixed this year,
I do.
we'd have to do that.
I got a couple questions.
Yeah.
They're calling for 1-inch type K. Generally, it's 3/4, is it not?
Yes, we talked about that too. We told,
I mean, I could see on the longer one, maybe,
Yeah.
you're talking about the 1-inch copper?
yes.
Yeah, no, we talked to Tyler today, both Pat and I had him on speakerphone and going through this, and so that would be if we needed to replace it, but the services that we already have there are 3/4 inch copper.
Yep.
And so Pat's thinking if we're gonna lower it, we need some extra pipe, we can just cut in. We wouldn't need to actually replace the whole pipe from the
Right, right.
curb to the curb stop. So that's thinking if we had to replace the whole section of, from corp to curb stop.
You would
But it
replace
would be
it,
3/4, it would be 3/4. We
Okay.
told him that, not 1-inch, we're not,
yeah.
yeah. That's what they have existing is 3/4.
And then, is there engineering costs on this, for SCH, for doing?
There
this?
will be, because they will have a field rep during the construction
Okay.
and observation, for observation.
So they don't see that on,
No, that's not included on here. So I think that will be just by time.
okay.
Did Tyler say anything about what he thought the schedule might be? I've heard contractors are crazy busy right now. Is this something like
He said if
could
we-
happen this year?
Yes, that's what he told me when I asked him back in June, last month when we talked about it, after our meeting, we talked about it. And he said, yes, that he feels that they could still do it this year. We could still get a contractor, find a contractor to do it this year.
Yeah.
But we'd have to move now. So if we get the go-ahead, I will let him know tomorrow, and like I said, he'll meet with Pat, and we'll
I'm
get
gonna
something
say,
drawn up.
I'll make a motion to go ahead and get these done. I mean, it's been a long time.
Also,
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
And it's not something that we have to do. Again, it's like the other one, the other services that we did over on Almac. It's not something that, Public Utilities is not forced to have to do, but I know we're doing it in good faith,
Yeah.
because they've had issues and because kind of out of their control. For both of them, it was their grade of the road had been cut, and so it made a big difference in their cover, their depth of their water line.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Okay, report of office. Do we have anything, update from Pat? Or
No, just busy working on
getting everything
this.
working?
He's got some hydrants, we've talked about that today. Some hydrants that he's looking that we might want to be replacing before winter, maybe a couple of hydrants. Also, we looked at the shutdown to cut in the new valves for the pump house. So we came up with we've been meeting back and forth, and we had Superior Water and Light up here to kind of go over a plan on our shutdown area. And he's worked the valves, so I think that'll be good. So he's just kind of been working through some of these shutdowns.
They're on it. And this MMUA capital letter, a lot of it is just informational. We really don't, I mean, talk about the cold weather rule, and then they talk about, I mean, some of our information is private, but we're supposed to give it up. You know, that's kind of,
Yeah.
we'll wait and see what happens.
I think the good news is there has been more funding going to LIHEAP, to the agencies for assistance. So I think they should have more resources to give out to people who are struggling, which is good.
We've got, I know Tammy has referred a couple of, well, probably more than just a couple, but I know a couple that she's talked to that have actually applied for that Minnesota rent help, and they hear nothing back. I guess
Oh, really?
it is just so backlogged
Oh, shoot.
that they are hearing nothing. They're getting no response, and so we have had some
That's too
customers
bad.
apply for that, but no word at all.
I know we have a NEMPA update. Is there anything we have to do with this right now?
Yes, they, what NEMPA is looking for is whether we are interested or not interested in proceeding with the contract stage of the wholesale power negotiations. If what they've proposed so far looks good, that we want to participate in that part of it, or because we've had some communities, one for sure, that has said, no, we're not. So, that said, right now, we can't say that. You know, that they're not, they can't confirm or, you know, so that's what they're looking for from us. If we, you know, if we'd want to discuss any of the terms that are in here, we would have to go into a closed meeting because it is, but you all have seen,
Yes.
and the negotiating team has done a
good job.
an awesome job on getting to where they are from where they've started. And it's their recommendation to move forward. So,
Does anyone have any concerns about moving forward? I personally don't. I think it's a
No.
good thing. So we will make a motion to continue on with negotiations. I will make that motion if anybody wants.
Just support.
All in favor?
Aye.
If you want to discuss this more, that's fine.
No.
But we
I
have to close.
trust the negotiating team.
we have a great group, yeah.
Okay. Any more on report of the office? You just discussed the booster pump station a little bit. Anything else on there?
And then with NEMPA, I do have a board meeting with them next Wednesday. I will be letting Dave know that we did approve moving forward. Dave Berg, our consultant.
Okay.
But I do have that board meeting next Wednesday, and it looks like it's going to be through Teams, and I will participate in that if anybody else.
I'll try to stop by when you have that meeting
Okay.
if I can get here at
Okay.
that time.
And Shar, did you say that we're all still together as a group except for one?
Yes, and
Okay.
I wouldn't say that they're, except for one, that they're not in a group, they just can't commit at our meeting, they were not able to commit at that time.
Okay.
So, whereas I said, I would pass on the recommendation that, and they were not sure that they could do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, everybody's still,
Together?
Yes.
Good.
All right. And is there anything in the financial statements that you think we need you here for? Any kind of surprises?
I had a question on the booster pump station.
Okay.
At our meeting, they talked about mid-July, they were gonna be starting. I haven't seen any movement. Have you heard anything, or?
no, and I actually talked to Tyler today and he hadn't heard anything either.
Okay.
And so, did I email Brendan? I had his email up today and I was gonna ask him for a timeline on that. I did ask Tyler when I talked to him today and he hadn't seen anything. So I'm not really sure because they told us when we met for the pre-construction meeting, they said the middle of July is when they expected the first shutdown. That's why Pat and I were scrambling on coming up with a shutdown area. And we haven't heard anything. So we figured about this time they'd be starting their digging in and,
Yeah.
Making the connections for
Yeah,
the
they could be
new
doing grubbing
services.
and stuff there. And
Yeah.
So what happens when the pumping station is offline while they're working on it?
Well, they run lines, they'll have it turned down.
They'll have it,
They'll
It'll
cut the
keep running?
bypasses in first and run them onto the property line, with the valves. So they'll have those valves open except, the through valves.
So we're gonna be running off, actually what's gonna happen is we're gonna have the shutdown right to the north of our job site. It's almost up towards 11th Street there. We have a main shut-off valve,
Mhm.
and it is 6-inch cast out there instead of ductile. So hopefully that's not gonna pose any issues. I did make mention, Pat was, make sure that they know, the contractor knows, and they're not expecting it to be, whether or not it makes a difference. So we have that valve up there that he's turned and he can get on, and then we're gonna take the first valve because there's 3 valves there for the pump house. There's the incoming here on the main, and then there's the bypass right here that is closed right now because you have it coming, the incoming, it goes into the pump house, it comes out, and then you have another valve there.
Yeah.
So we're gonna shut off that main valve that's first coming in from the city of Duluth, go north and shut that off. So we won't have any water pushing up. It'll be just that section, and we don't think we'll have anybody without water because Oliver is actually, Spirit Mountain, our Railview Apartments, comes off of 11th Street. So, and I don't think Hoffman's next door, or not Hoffman's, Peterson's next door
Bridget.
will be out. Yeah, we think that they're north of that
Aren't they gonna
main
run a
shut-off valve.
temporary line?
So we won't have any, the pumps won't be running or anything while they're doing that cut-in, but we have enough with a water tower that it will hold us for a while. And if we have to bypass, we can open up, we've got a valve over on 9th Street and Boundary Avenue, we can open that up because that's closed to hold pressure. So we can open up and backfeed that way if necessary and open up some hydrants.
So this conditional use permit, we have to accept this then?
The city already accepted it. It was just informational that they did, this was between our last meetings, that we took care of this. Oh yeah, I guess we would because we have to sign off on here, so we would have to accept this.
So make a
But they
motion to
did bring it
accept.
to a hearing. They brought it to a hearing, and then the planning and zoning hearing, they
I was
passed
just
it.
totally surprised that we had to do that.
Yeah,
It's been there for 50 years.
it was in between the last meetings. I'm just like, okay, let's hurry up and get this done. I'll get you all the information you need. We'll pass it on to, so.
Okay, I'll
yeah.
make a motion to accept the conditional use permit.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now the financials.
Okay, before, I should have added a couple things on the agenda. There's patches I wanted to talk about. We have some
Yeah, 2 of
repairs.
them. We
Two?
have, right, and so I'm gonna have to check in on that because we've already
Was there
told
2 or
them.
3? Fifth Street?
We know on
The one,
Fifth and Third Avenue.
Yep.
And then right up from there, we had a water break.
On the north side of Fifth Street, up
And-
by where Ward's Homestead used to be?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
that was a residential.
Yep, yep.
Okay.
That's not, we're not doing that one, but.
That's
but
not
the-
ours.
But the one north of, we had one on Third Avenue though.
Yep, yep.
So we had two on Third Avenue actually, where the
Yeah.
hydrant was, and then north. So those two I know of. Is there another one I'm missing?
Nope, I was just wondering about the Fifth Street, but I knew that was on the.
Yeah, that's
the
private.
owner's side of the corp there. Just a comment, it's dry now, it might be a good time to get that one on Third Avenue and.
Right, Pat's already
Just-
made mention of that. He's already
Yeah,
told him that, and
it's dry.
yeah. So this, I thought this was already in the works. We were just waiting on for them to show up. But he's already talked to Senate about that and told them. So,
Okay,
Put a bug in their ear again.
yeah,
Anything else?
then, yeah, one other thing, tree trimming chart, we had talked about,
yep. And I did let Rocky know about that,
Okay.
and I sent him the work order from that outage.
Yep.
Because I did get one for
Yep.
20, whatever it was, 21 6th Street or whatever it was. Whoever had called it in. 20
yeah, it would be around there. I think
Yeah,
Molly was
so-
27 and,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I sent him that work order and, because it had something about the trees and fire, pole fire and blah, blah, blah. So I asked him if that was, if he had that on the list of hotspots to be done this year, and I'm just waiting for a response from
okay,
him.
because those trees are, then this time of year, they're full foliage, so.
Yeah,
I hung a tree in one that they had already cut off. I had a swing, I put a swing in it. Well, that swing is already touching the ground, so
because of
they're
the weight of
settling,
it.
yep, yep.
Yeah.
And the trees are dying, so that don't, and the one's of concern, it'll hit the power lines
Yeah,
like
right.
the other one did.
Yeah, so he's aware of it. He's got the, I'll just wait to hear back from him, but I emailed him the work order from that call out,
Okay,
just to let him know that we had a fire there. It was,
all right. That was the only two things I had. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
I should
it's
have put it
okay.
on the agenda.
Good. No, that's good to bring that up. If you want to look through the financials?
I'm good.
oh my gosh, this cut off our bill.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Oh geez,
what was
sorry
that?
about that.
The
So they
maintenance
were-
billing is half cut
Oh,
off.
yeah.
Yeah, so
We
you
got
can't.
the first numbers, so.
Right, right.
You have to look at it individually.
So this was set up to be able to, it should have landscaped on that page. It's set up to do auto, but apparently it didn't detect that. Sorry about that. I guess I didn't thumb through it to.
You know, it just bugs me that these locates, they're not even in Proctor, but we're still getting billed.
I know. Because we can't call them, I mean, they just automatically get them. Because it all depends on where the contractor, where they do their little outage map. I mean, I've seen some come in from Hermantown. And our superior would know that we don't locate there, and we don't need to do a locate there. But these guys, Vanguard is.
We've had a couple electrical blips in the last month. Just short ones. Any explanation or?
I'm just thinking, I know the last time was when we met last time.
And
that was-
But there's been a
wasn't that
couple
a fire?
small
That
ones
was-
after that, just,
Like flickering.
yeah.
Like the whole city?
Yeah, I don't know, my house.
Enough to have to reset your clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of
Really?
times now.
No, I haven't heard anything on
Okay.
that.
These northern clearing tree trimming things, they don't say where they're tree trimmed.
They used to do that on the, let me look and see. Oh, if you look at the bottom,
Oh, Peggy.
no, there's,
Oh, here's
look at the
mine.
bottom, they have an
Okay,
address,
I
this
see.
one has an address. So they might have like started there, and I can't imagine it's all at the same place, you know? Right. So maybe that's where they started and they were doing Pine Avenue area.
Have they done up by you at all?
Have you seen them out there, John?
What, vegetation
The tree
management?
trimmers, yeah.
Yeah, they've done the kind of corner St. Louis River Road and 3rd Avenue, you know, where it kind of does this. I've seen them do that part that I've noticed.
Yeah, this one's Pine Avenue, so I was figuring they were doing the north end of town.
Warm in here, Jess.
Yeah.
It's got about $500,000. We're working on it.
Any other questions, you guys?
Nope.
Nope.
We see Pat's estimate. We need an approval.
Do you want approval of the bills plus the truck estimate
Yes,
together?
please, yeah. If he can go ahead and get service done on here, that would be,
So I'll move to approve the bills along with the estimate for the work on the PUC truck.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Jess, do you have anything you need from us?
I don't,
Okay, good.
just came to help our camera. If you needed anything from me.
No, we're good.
yeah, Ted's not here, so he gave us instructions on how to do it, and I'm like, do you know how
Nice
to
job, ladies.
Yeah,
Nice
thank
job.
you.
That's just, I have no idea.
I need one more motion then.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Support?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.